For a second, they had me. They had me thinking there was a chance in this game. And then it all fell through.
Halftime adjustments, Nick, man. Whatever happened in halftime, the Kansas City Chiefs made their changes. Commanders couldn't keep up. Tough way to finish. Tough way to finish Monday night.
Hail to the Commanders! It's the Commanders Squad. Everything Washington Commanders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of the nation's capital. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Rally the burgundy and gold. The Commanders Squad Show starts now.
It's a season that's starting to feel lost. It's something you didn't want to think when we got into this year, coming off of the 12 wins in the NFC Championship game last season. But that's last season, and that's one of the biggest dangers about any new season is comparing it to last year. Anthony Armstrong, Nick Ashooh, David Harrison's going to join us in a little bit from Kansas City when he's done dealing with a losing locker room. 28-7 is your final. Commanders now fall to 3-5 after the loss of Monday Night Football to the Chiefs. We're going to look at the defense. We're going to look at unfinished drives. We're going to look at Marcus Mariota filling in again for Jayden Daniels. More injuries in this game. I don't even know what the hell we're going to do for the rest of this season if this continues, because I'm starting to wonder whether they're going to have anybody left actually out there on the field when this is all done. We are brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for your $20 off your first purchase. Anthony, I listen, we had a lot leading up to this game, and I said the next 2 weeks for this Commanders team are essentially going to determine how they look at the rest of the year. They've got the Chiefs game now done. They've got Seattle coming up next. Jayden Daniels, we don't even know whether he's going to play in that game or not. You got a trade deadline a couple of days after that. The Commanders now sit at 3-5 after this loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. And their season quickly feels like it's falling down the drain. I just unclogged the drain in our shower today, and I took a shop vac in there, and I sucked all kinds of crap out of it. And you know what? That reminded me of essentially what this Commander season is starting to look like now. It's all the soap scum and the hair and the junk that went down the drain, except the difference is no one's coming to suck this damn thing out unless there's a miracle from Jayden Daniels. I don't know whether to be mad at the injuries, mad at the way the season's gone, mad at the defense. There's a lot that I'm pissed off about in this game, but the one thing I do know, at 3-5 with Seattle up next, I'm really starting to lose any hope, Anthony, for the rest of this season being anything more than let's focus on the offseason and next year.
You know, with the injuries that are piling up, I can see how you can get that way. It's just one of those things where it seems like every week there's one or two guys going down with not just little small injuries, pretty big ones, pretty catastrophic ones that really, impact how your defense and how your offense are going to roll out there, where you just cannot have any consistency. And when you mention the upcoming schedule, when you have the Seahawks and then you have that trade deadline, I mean, there's a point where you have to look in the mirror and say, what are we going to be and what do we really look at doing this season? Obviously, the goal is still try to find your way to the playoffs, but man, it's going to be an uphill battle. And it's like they don't have any water. You don't have any daggum trail snacks and none of that stuff. You're out there just Bear Grylls with a spoon trying to figure out this life in the middle of the season. Your quarterback's out. One of your top receivers are hurt. I mean, it's a tough situation right now. And no, I don't think they're going to be throwing in the towel, but I do think they need to start to make some strategic decisions about how they really want to play this thing out for the rest of the season. Man, it's going to be tough to be on the ride along the ride with it. But hey, you know what? We might still some wind along the way.
There's certainly a difference in this. Obviously, for you, is coming from a player's perspective, right? No player is going to say, like, I'm mailing it in for this year. Now, if there's injuries, some guys might make a business decision and say, look, I could play through this, but, the season now at this point, if they're sitting at, let's say, 3-7, we're obviously not there yet, but, players start to think about their health and their long-term, and that's a different thing. But the overall mindset from the front office and the coaching staff, which is going to determine the rest of the season, may just be we sell at the deadline. It might just be this is the rebuild we were supposed to have last year. It's just happening a year later. And I think that's really the difficult part about this. And it's like one of the things I said, right, that was going to trick us coming into this year. Maybe there was a little bit of a false sense of, hey, we've already rebuilt this thing. I mean, it's the oldest team in the NFL. It's the team that was supposed to be rebuilding last season and vastly overachieved and had a lot of things go their way. One of my biggest concerns was you look at the quarterback matchups Washington had last year versus this year, oh, it's a big difference. And listen, the defense in this game, especially early on, looked good. They were getting after Patrick Mahomes. They picked him off twice in the first quarter. Like, let's give Marshon Lattimore credit at least for getting a damn interception in this game. Oh, and by the way, Bobby Wagner on top of that. I know the ball was tipped to him, and he got – but, like, two of the guys that are getting the most crap from people in the comments on this show, Bobby Wagner and Marshon Lattimore, both had interceptions that made a difference in this game. The biggest thing in this game tonight, Anthony, they were not finishing drives. Now, I understand that you didn't have you had a kicker, but like you didn't have a kicker in this. You had a kicker that was barely with the team, and they were in these weird spots, this like field purgatory where it's like, if we had a kicker that could kick a 55-yarder maybe, but we're not going to do it here. So like they're in this really weird spot where they're going for it on fourth down, and you know, you're this close with Ertz at one point, and then that, I don't know what that lob thing was. It was like all Lob City back with the Clippers from Marcus Mariota early on that other fourth down. But like they did not finish drives. That was the biggest problem with this game early. Because by the way, as you know, I checked those first quarter stats. Oh, don't you think for one second that I don't have the notes for that? And by the way, the Commanders looked good in this first quarter. Even if you want to look at, I mean, total yards, 97-48 in the first quarter for Washington. All right, time of possession, doubled Kansas City, picked off Patrick Mahomes twice, no penalties. You know, both teams had an interception. The second interception came in the second quarter, but that was, you know, early on in the second. So early on in this game, Washington looked like a team that had a mindset of, we know we're dogs. We know nobody expects us to win this game, so we got nothing to lose. The problem is if you don't finish drives against the Chiefs and you don't give yourself that early cushion. They had a chance for maybe a 2-touchdown lead in this game. Yeah. Kansas City started doing Chiefs things, and that thing was over after that.
Yeah, eventually that coaching is going to catch up. They're going to find out what you're doing. They're going to find some wrinkles and ways to get open. I mean, when I came in a little bit late, so I have to admit I didn't get to see all the live action, but I got caught up by the plays, and I saw the interception by Lattimore. I'm running around the house screaming. I'm like, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like, he needed to get a play like that, right? That's something that you start building some momentum. And then you see Bobby Wagner get in on the interception. I was like, the unks are showing up in this one, right? I said we're coming into this matchup, you need the OGs to really step up for where the young guys weren't able to get things done in those previous weeks. So, man, they were making plays. They were doing what they had to do. But like you said, not getting it into the end zone, especially against one of the top teams, one of the best quarterbacks in this game, you got to put him in a tough situation. I mean, you've seen the graphics that they already, you know, they can come back from being down by 17 points. But man, if you have a chance to put him down by 17 points, that's going to help you. There were a lot of good things to look at, but man, the way that you just weren't able to put the points on the board, and it's not even the three. I think that going for it was right. I think that you had to be overly aggressive with this Chiefs team because you know how they can run up points. So I think they played it the right way. But man, once again, how last year was all how you find ways to win. Now it's finding ways to lose, if you will, right? Finding just, we're missing just a little bit here or there. But honestly, man, this is where you know, last year we were really good. 12 wins, NFC Championship. Nobody was going to apologize if they made it to the Super Bowl. They were going to apologize if they would have gotten themselves a trophy, right? Nobody would have apologized at all. Now you're seeing, okay, hey, the difference between where we think we should be and where we did last year, where we are right now, is coming down to injuries, coming down to some depth, it's coming down to some availability. So they can address those concerns starting here at this trade deadline. They got to start thinking about these things because the next year, you can't have this type of a performance. They got to think more along the lines of getting back to that playoff status type of a team.
Yeah, it's there was a point, and I want to say it was the Rashee Rice fumble in the third. Yeah, that Marshon Lattimore didn't fall on. And that was at that point in the season. They mentioned it. It was the 8th fumble of the year for the Chiefs, and they hadn't lost a single one. Like, that's an example of just the ball constantly bouncing your way. Now, that's from the Chiefs side. Marshon Lattimore need to fall on the damn ball. And it's like you have that great interception where you go, okay, this is what he needed. This is what this defense needed. It's early on in the game. You're thinking you're setting this tone. You're looking unfazed by the injuries and the matchup with Patrick Mahomes and all these things. And then you start to see more plays, boneheaded plays like that. Simple. Listen, I didn't play in the NFL. I played in high school. What are you taught? Fall on the damn football, all right? Now, I'm not going to pull the high school hero nonsense, but what I'm going to say is that is a basic fundamental, like catching the football with a diamond in your head. Like, this is the basic fundamental. fall on. That is a fumble drills that you practice in high school, in middle school, in Pee-wee football. Fall on the football. And that's another opportunity there, which then led to a Travis Kelce touchdown. So you had all of these opportunities for Washington to either take advantage of extra possessions off the 2 early interceptions or generate another extra possession if they recover that fumble and actually hang on to it. And these opportunities that were there just did not come together for them. They didn't take advantage of them. And I'm with you in the sense that, like, going forward on 4th down in those situations made sense. Like I said, it was like football field purgatory in there where you're right in the middle and you don't have Brandon Aubrey out there kicking field goals for you. So you're like, all right, we're going to have to go ahead with a guy that just got called up, part of the roster 2 hours ago, whatever it was. When it comes to a kicker you don't trust, like, you're going to have to go with that, and you got a veteran quarterback out there. And listen, Marcus Mariota played well for a good portion, a good stretch of this game, but when you're down 3 touchdowns, there's a certain point where you throw the playbook out the window and you're just trying to do anything you can to try and rally this offense. And it just felt like as things went on, it reminded me of an era, a past era, where you'd see some of these Monday night games and go, oh my God, not where it's just spiraling out of control, because you started to see, I mean, that one point that Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it was multiple times, but he's dancing around and you watch and you go, oh, there's Mahomes. He looks like a baseball player. He looks, and that's all that you need. And those are the types of moments where you just say, because you didn't capitalize early in this game, the Chiefs find just one little bit of a rhythm, and then that's it. And then they curb stomped them after that.
Man, that's what good teams do. That's how the good teams play in this league, man. They're going to eventually stay in it. They know it's a 60-minute matchup. It's one of them things that, just keep chipping away. Just keep chipping away. You're going to get yourself an opportunity. Man, there's a lot of learning. There's definitely a lot of learning on this. I mean, you're looking at the stats, and I thought Marcus did all right. He think he did all right. 21 for 30, 213, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Obviously, you don't want those 2 interceptions. The running game didn't really get cooking like we thought it was. I think that was one thing that coming in. We wanted to see more of that. Once again, Chris Rodriguez got his obligatory 1 carry to show that he's on the roster. I'm sure as hell would have loved to see him get some more action. Love this comment coming up right here saying Terry was fantastic. The rest of the offense was mid. Defense was a wreck. Lubu not a D end. Wagner needs to be off the field on passing downs. I can't get it written at all. The rest of that, that's a lot of stuff that you gave me. But Terry did ball. I'm glad to see him making some plays. That catch diving on the sideline was amazing. And just his presence alone, that you feel like, okay, we can get something done, right? You can get something done to find a way to get down the field. Just got to get everybody else on board to be able to play at that same level. When you're not getting everybody to play at that tip-top level consistently, you obviously don't have the same people on the field. It makes for a bumpy, rocky season. So everybody get healthy. Because we're going to need a strong run next year. Because right now it's looking tough, man. It's looking tough.
Terry McLaurin was great in this. And I think, listen, having him back and maybe Jayden Daniels out there, and you get more of, the Jayden Daniels that what the peak is. And this is a different game. But, like, the issue, too, here is that, we haven't seen consistent Jayden Daniels just on the field with all the injuries this year. And I think that's concerning. And by the way, Terry McLaurin had a quad injury at the end of this game too. So it's like, you're now dealing with, like, what does this continue to be week after week after week? The one thing I will say is that, like, what pisses me off is when people start to say, well, injuries aren't an excuse. Well, to a point, they are a fact, right? Like, there's a certain point where, like, this team is not built to sustain the amount of injuries that the 49ers are dealing with. And we're getting to that point now where the Commanders are in 49ers territory when it comes to injuries. And we'll see what, Javon Kinlaw and, some of these other injuries and Terry's quad at the end here and, like, all this stuff going on. Debo was banged up again. I get that guys obviously get banged up during an NFL season, but there's a certain point where you can just be like, next man up. Well, okay, that's just a phrase. Like, it doesn't actually mean anything if you don't have any more men that are up next. Like, you're getting to that point now in certain positions, especially on the defensive side of the football. I mean, the defensive line just continues to get banged up. And I mean, it's just getting to that spot where it doesn't become an excuse. That's just lazy to just say that it's an excuse. It is absolutely a reason when you're downgrading the quality of talent or experience that's out there. And we're starting to get into that territory, which is far more concerning for the rest of the season for me than anything else. Is just a level of, like, what does this look like 3 weeks from now? Do we have more injuries, or do guys start coming back and this team gets more healthy? Because it's not like we haven't seen I mean, we've seen other teams in the NFL, but just this team alone, we've watched them have 3-6 starts and turn things around and make the playoffs. I mean, look at RG3's rookie year in 2012. That's the first one that comes to mind, and that's the only one. I mean, not the only one. They were 3-6, and they win 7 straight, 10 wins. They win the division. Like, so this stuff can happen, but you can do it if you have the opportunity and the players to be able to make that possible, and that's really going to be the question mark week after week now, and it starts with Jayden Daniels and his health too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you can get 5 back, but I feel like we said this every single week, right? If you get 5 back, well, then now, Tunsil had a hammy, and then, then if you get this guy back, we are definitely, you're past where injuries are definitely a thing, right? They're definitely a thing. I mean, every position you look at, we've had injuries that have affected somebody's availability or what the plan was. Right now, obviously, you don't go in and you can't change the plans, and you can't say, we're going to lose this one just because we're short guys. No, but it just puts a strain on everybody, right? Whereas you shouldn't have to ask somebody to do a superhuman feat to get something done to try to win this game. Like, it still takes all 11. And then when we go to the Jimmys and the Joes, man, if you don't have your Jimmys are worse than their Joes, sometimes that's what it comes down to. Eventually, it's going to break. It's going to. You have to play perfect ball. And they did that early. And that's one thing. Like, okay, well, you were in the chain, you had the opportunity, man, but you didn't put it in the end zone. So they're going to have to do it every week. They're going to have to do it again, and then they're going to have to do it again. To overcome the deficiency at the level of player that they're going to be lining up. So let's see if they can do it next week. I mean, hey, I'm gonna have the positivity about it, but it's definitely a tough thing. It's definitely a tough thing, but it's also primo learning experience, right? These are reps that you ain't gonna get. You know what I mean? So Jalen Lane got to quickly learn, got to quickly pick up his decision making, ball handling, and catching some passes. I want to see him make some more of an impact. Just take advantage of these opportunities that are here. Because I mean, it is what it is, right? There's injuries; they are what they are. Ain't nobody else coming to save you. You got to hunker down and make some plays, man. Hunker down and make some plays.
Speaking of making plays, there's somebody that deserves far more targets than he's been getting this season, and he proved it again tonight. Plus, we mentioned it, the return of Terry McLaurin and what he looked like with his finally being back on the field for the Commanders. It's Commanders Squad. And we're brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement in this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's really no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It's really that simple. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup. You can play anywhere Prize Picks operates. That includes California and Texas and Georgia if you want to scratch that itch. You know what I'm talking about. And I've been using Prize Picks on Sundays for NFL. Now I'm dabbling in the NBA a little bit too. Side note, some people that know me, NBA is one of my other loves as well. Besides this Commanders team, you go with some favorite players. It's Patrick Mahomes or it's Steph Curry. You can get into both of these sports. They've got these opportunities there for you. If your player leaves early with an injury, this is really good too. Injury reboot saves my lineup from a loss. It's happened before. It happens to everybody. Oh, it's so great to have that little insurance. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So we'll start with Terry McLaurin here. Listen, 3 catches, 54 yards, a touchdown. I mean, the back of the end zone, just kind of with a little, just the lob. I don't know what it was with Marcus Mariota tonight, but the lobs, it was Lob City, like it was CP3 back with the Clippers, just tossing things up. I mean, but it was to see what Terry McLaurin brought to this lineup, even with 3 catches. It's not like he had, 120 yards receiving and 3 like this, but this was for a first game back with a backup quarterback out there, the catches that Terry McLaurin made, the things that he was able to do. And just from a defensive scheming perspective, the Chiefs were like, oh, Terry's out there. We can't ignore the fact that Terry McLaurin is back out there on the field. But you just see the difference in terms of the talent level. And it's really that simple. Like, it doesn't take a trained eye to watch Terry McLaurin and then the rest of the receivers, minus Deebo Samuel. Again, I look at him a little bit differently because of some of the ways that he's using this offense, Anthony. But, you look at that and you just go, this is what they've needed this entire season. They just haven't been able to have Terry McLaurin and Jayden Daniels out there healthy for consistent weeks like they did last year when they won 12 games.
Hey, when you don't have that consistency, you don't have that availability, it really makes it difficult to go out there and just be your best. I mean, you're running a high octane vehicle with some crap gasoline. You're trying to put some 087. That's not good for the car, man. You got to have that on that premium stuff, that high dollar stuff in there. These guys are finally getting together, and that really helped. Jayden wasn't out there, so Terry showing up, it's affecting the defense because they're expecting the ball to go down the field a lot more. They know that they have a reliable target that they can get to, somebody that can get open versus man coverage. Some of the things they did scheme him open, so I did like to see that. A lot of times Kliff will just run the base offense, and you'll see Terry just kind of running with somebody covered right on him, but that's just because somebody else is open. Somebody else is going to get the ball based on those looks. But I love the fact that they had some plays to get Terry the rock. I love the fact that Marcus was just looking to him and say, hey, man, make a play for me in this situation. Even though the one on the 4th and whatever it was in the goal line where he just threw it out of bounds, he was saying, hey, look, Terry, make me right. And he's done that time and time again in his career. And so if you're looking to 17, you expect him to win. So more and more of this next week because you need him to make hellified plays and just really, up his game and make a much bigger performance each week, especially when you're going to be short with your talent and injuries.
We don't know what the quad situation is going to be. David's going to join us in a little bit and maybe give us somewhat. I know there's only so much that we find out after a game, but that was another thing when they start showing him on the sidelines and you're going, oh God, no. Now, again, it could be something as simple as like he could push through it if the game wasn't 28-7. We don't know. So hopefully we'll find out a little bit more once he pops on here. If not, it might be a, throughout the week type of situation. But, there is a level of just having your star receiver back out there. It makes a difference. It can add something to this team. But, I will say this, for as good as Terry was being back out there, having missed this time and the spark that he did bring to this offense in those moments and some of the catches that he made, can we please start giving Luke McCaffrey more targets? 3 catches on 3 targets, 24 yards. That sideline catch, you know how hard that is, Anthony. That ain't easy to do, to know where the ball is, to know where your feet are, to know where the sideline is, and to know where at least one defender is. All of that coupled together to make those types of plays, it's so incredibly difficult. And Luke McCaffrey, we know what he can do as a return guy. It's gotten to the point now where teams are just like, we'd rather just automatically put you on the 35 as opposed to let you open up with a 38-yard return right off the bat. We know what Luke McCaffrey has done throughout this entire season as a return guy. But as a receiver, the playmaking ability is there. He may not be a star. He may not be a guy that ever makes a Pro Bowl necessarily, but he's the guy that can make big plays for you when you need them. I would love to see more targets and more opportunities as a receiver for Luke McCaffrey.
You say he's not a star. I'm going to add yet to that because I think he is definitely growing his game because that first year he's coming in, I think he was only playing receiver, 3-4 years. So he hadn't really gotten well versed to the game. Then you get to the league and you realize, number one, how fast it is. Number two, you realize how physical it is. And he's addressed both of those instances. He has addressed the physicality, and that's why he's on the field more often. He's shown the willingness to block. He's shown the ability to return those kicks. The one other thing that he has to work on and he can grow in his game is finding a way to create separation at the top of his routes. He just has to get open a little bit more off of his footwork, right? It can't just be off of schemes and pick routes and things of that nature. So if he's able to create separation with his feet, then you go have a problem with dude because he's just learning good habits. He's just learning from what other people are doing in front of him. He doesn't have years and years of bad habits that he's built up that you're trying to break. So Luke's been balling. I definitely see him needing to get more action. And it crossed my mind about midway through the game. I'm like, man, I wonder how he's going to get worked in with Terry back in. I didn't really realize what Debo was kind of how his involvement was going. But Luke McCaffrey is definitely somebody that could use the rock in his hands a lot more. He's bringing a lot of positivity to the offense. And I still figure this much. It's kind of like, you go out to the bar, man. You got to have yourself a shot to get started. Get a shot deep to Luke, man. Just put one out there just to get that party started, just to let everybody know what type of day it's going to be. You still got to shake things up on offense and let McCaffrey be the one to get it done.
Just to kind of loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, man. You got to get to right there first, and it'll settle down, and you can catch back up. But you know what I mean.
Explain to me, you said something that I think kind of really stood out when you talk about like adjusting to the speed of the league from a wide receiver's perspective. What is that? Just what is that like? And what are some of the things that you, when you watch him, you say, okay, here's the things that could help him get. I mean, you kind of explained it a little bit there, but I kind of want to get more into that, like specific where you said the league being faster, like what that means for him in terms of how he can grow as a receiver, knowing that that's something that's really just kind of like a, oh, damn, like this is really a lot different than college.
Yeah, man. And the one thing about in college, if you have good speed, you can pretty much get away from anybody. But when you get to the league, you realize everybody's fast. Everybody has a premier footwork. Everybody can get in and out of their breaks. So you have to bring a little bit more nuance to your game. And that's what I think he can learn. He's going to learn that from watching other receivers. He's going to learn that from studying tape from players around the league and seeing like, how does Devontae Adams get open? How does Puka Nacua get open? What do they do in their route running skills to help him get open? But when you talk about the speed of the game, you just imagine you walking out on 495. You pick your local expressway, wherever you're watching and listening from, walk out on 495 and just think you're going to walk across. That's how fast it is because everybody is going super fast. They know where they're going. They're confident and they believe it. And it's like, if you are a half of a step off, if you slow down a little bit, you're going to get yourself hurt. You're going to get somebody else hurt and you're probably going to get the ball turned over as well. I saw that last year. This year, now you kind of have to go out there with no regard, man. You have to understand, like, I'm supposed to be here at this time, and this other person's going to go there at the same time. We may have a collision, but I got to get the football. And I love that Luke is playing with that mindset of saying, hey, I'm getting the rock. The ball's coming my way. I'm going to make something happen with it. It just so happens I'm wearing my mindset sweatshirt here to sulk in this victory, but I'm changing my mindset after this loss.
Listen, sometimes you just got to try to wash your brain out with bleach to forget what happened, and that's how I feel like about it tonight. Don't actually wash brain out with bleach, people. I'm just saying that's the run game. Usually we kind of look at like the running back rotation, but it's hard in this game given the fact that it was just it was out of reach for a while, and they're trying to throw themselves back in this game. I mean, Marcus Mariota was their leading rusher with 28. Like that's the type of game we're talking about here. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 9 carries for 25 yards. Jeremy McNichols was a receiver in this. I mean, he was their leading receiver, 5 for 64. On 6 targets. I mean, Jeremy McNichols got more targets than anybody except Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel. They both had 6. So you're looking around going like, sometimes the one thing about this team, and again, I know they lost 28-7, so it's like hard to see these moments through the fog of this loss, but there are players week after week that step up in these key moments, and you don't know necessarily who it's going to be, and that is an advantage that they do have. I know it doesn't look like it after a loss like this, but for somebody like Jeremy McNichols, who can go out there and throw you some key blocks in a game, but do nothing else besides that and be okay with it, but then the next game, catch 5 for 64 as a running back. I mean, they have the guys that do have a level of versatility that give this offense a really high upside. When your starting quarterback's not out there and he's not 100% when he is out there, the way the season's gone, there's just only so much that you can do. But you can't overlook the fact that they do have players where one week it's Bill. Another week it's Jeremy McNichols as a receiver. Before he was he was all banged up. It was Deebo Samuel, obviously. I mean, the consistency we had until the Bears game, it was Deebo every single week was doing something for them that they needed. And then Luke McCaffrey. So there's a bunch of different names here that you look and you go, okay, they have players that in any given moment can step up and make some key plays for them. Yeah. And it was without a doubt, Jeremy McNichols tonight as a receiver for them was spectacular.
Yeah, he took advantage of the opportunities that came his way. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. And he was on my list of guys that were performing, right? Older veterans that are taking advantage and doing what they got to do to help elevate this squad. He's one of those guys who's done that all year. I mean, one of the most physical runs that we've seen all season. He's had both of those. So Jeremy McNichols balling out, catching the passes. What's frustrating when you look at it is understanding that that's a running back. So all the other stuff going around on the outside, nobody was getting open. But then it makes me consider, were they trying to get the ball out of their hands quickly, dealing with Chris Jones, Karlaftis over there on that rushing side. Obviously, the offensive line was flipping and rushing and floating around. So, getting the targets to the outside receivers was tough. And McNichols was able to make some key plays there. The big run, the big catch and run on that right sideline was huge. And then he had one run a little bit later on over the middle of the field, I think it was, where he had a little catch and run to help kind of extend the drive as well. So, knowing where you have those vets at, being able to pass block and then get out late, catch some passes and extend some drives. Because one big note, the statistic I love to see, in the first half, Washington was 71.9% on third downs. I was like, absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. If you're living in that type of a space, you're dominating this game. They were up 17-12 in a time of possession in the first half. Time of profession. I'm over here talking about something else. Time of profession. Yeah, I've been over here for 11 years, man. Oh, time of possession. They had that going for themselves, and I'm really surprised they had that going for themselves without having the running game going. But when you're 70% on third down, that keeps you on the field. But definitely want to see some other people step up where it's not, you have to go on your third running back and being Jeremy McNichols to be your leading receiver. So somebody else got to show up, man. We got to find a way to get some other people involved.
It was so frustrating to see the way that this thing started and then to have it just feel like it spiraled out of control where it takes away so much of the game plan. Like when you were watching this, did it look like it to you where it was just almost, we're just in desperation, try to chip away mode? Like, because you've obviously been on the side of wins, you've been on the side of losses as a receiver. Like, at what point does it just kind of get to the point where you've maybe abandoned any sort of game plan that you have or a balanced offense to just say, we got to throw the hell out of the football and take whatever opportunities are there?
Yeah, it just felt like that coming out of the half when the Chiefs were able to just kind of drive down the field and put something in the end zone, it put a little bit of pressure on the Washington side where they felt like they were going to have to answer, but they weren't able to keep the same thing going, the same success they were having earlier on. I mean, that's just where you kind of look back and say, damn, wish we would have got one or two of these things in the end zone earlier. That way you would have had some sort of a cushion to work with. But when you're coming into, the second half 0-0 essentially, with the tied at 7, they're making their adjustments, right? We're already coming into this matchup undermanned. You don't have your top cats. You got people that are injured, but then you also don't put the ball in the end zone. That makes it difficult. So it was one of those ones where it was like, I'm feeling like, are they going to be able, they being the defense, are they going to be able to get the ball back early and stop these guys and get the ball back to the offense? Because if so, then maybe you could see this thing turn the other way. But whenever you saw the Chiefs run down the field, it was like, okay, this is going to be kind of tough. Now the pressure flipped back to our offensive side to see what they were going to be able to do, and they weren't able to answer. They weren't able to keep up. They didn't have enough in the chamber, if you will. I mean, like I said, McNichols is your leading receiver receptions-wise. That can't be – that's not a winning formula. No disrespect, but that's just not a winning formula, right? You got to find a way to get to the ball to some other people. You got to find a way for somebody else to break open the game and give some help to that quarterback. He was under duress all day. Mariota did what he could. McLaurin stepped up where he could. McNichols did what he could, but no touchdowns in that red zone is really coming back to bite you.
I got to be honest. I think even Jeremy McNichols would probably say that him being the leading receiver is probably not a winning formula. So I don't even think you're being disrespectful by saying that. I think he'd probably agree to the same thing. We mentioned injuries. We look at some of those key injuries next. David Harrison also going to join us soon as well. It's Commander's Squad. And, of course, the NFL season is back. It's been here, and there's nothing better than being at the stadium surrounded by fans, unless you are at Arrowhead as a Commanders fan, watching what happened tonight on Monday Night Football. Cheering for your team's a little bit different, but you could still at least get there with Game Time. And let's be honest, getting tickets, it's a hassle. There's the queues and the login screens, and the prices are jumping at checkout, and you look and go, wow, how did it get to be this point? That's why I use Game Time. That's why you should use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. The Game Time is fast. It's easy. It's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price, plus all fees are included. So the price you see, that's the price you pay, and that's what everybody wants. You pull that thing up, and you can find games as low as $100, which in today's economy, that is really good for tickets to an NFL game for sure. The app, super simple, and you can get an exact view of your seat before you actually buy it, which is amazing now, right? Utilizing technology. They got zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats. You save big. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other way that I've bought tickets, than any other way that you probably bought tickets to. If you haven't tried it, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. There's no way that we can't dodge it completely, though, Anthony. There are a lot of injury concerns in this game, to a point where I had my notes, as you know, diligent note taker right here. Good student of the game, making sure I remember all the things that matter to me in this, until we got to about the fourth quarter. My first note just said gross. I just wrote gross. I just said, you know what, at this point now, this fourth quarter, we've got, and then Terry McLaurin, quad, Laramie Tunsil, hamstring, Javon Kinlaw, shoulder, and I mean, Johnny Newton was out and then back. I saw him limping off the field and went, oh, good, we got more injuries here. So you get to that point again now where we look, and we don't know, again, the extent of all of these. And we know, obviously, the way the injuries have already mounted up for this team. Deebo Samuel's a little banged up in this game, too, already been hurt. David's going to jump on with us again as soon as he can get on here, and we'll hopefully have a little bit more of an idea for some of that. But, like, I think there is a level, certainly, when you see some of these injuries like quad or hamstring. I mean, these are things that can linger. It's not like Terry McLaurin wasn't already dealing with, like, quad was already part of the problem for him to a point before. So it's, you know, it's his first game back. So my hope certainly is, and we're going to play a little speculation here, so we don't want to sit here and try to guess too much of where it is. But, like, listen, if you've missed a few weeks and you're getting back out there for the first time, there's certainly a chance that maybe your body just gets a little worn out early and they're cautious. That's my hope when it comes to Terry McLaurin specifically. If it's more, obviously, then we've got a problem. But this is now that spot where if guys can get healthy, like, I'm not, and I said this earlier in the show, right? It's not necessarily that, it's not that players are going to look and go, up 3-5, season's done. Guys are going to go out there and give it everything they got when they get out there on the field. But it's how the organization, the front office, the coaching staff, it's how they think about the way the rest of the season should be approached. Injuries are going to play a major part in that.
They definitely will. And I think some of them, you know, like soft tissue things, those linger. Those things that can, you know, you think they're gone and they kind of, you know, pop back up and here they are again. Those are the ones where if you start to pull like a 17, you pull Terry, you say he go sit down again, then I feel like you've started to make a decision on what the season's going to be. I don't feel too confident just trying to roll out there without having him, you know, for the rest of the season. I think that you have to have him out there. You have to have that presence. You got to. Like, there's no other way to even think about trying to pull together some W's if you don't have him out there to help uplift that wide receiver group as a whole. I think maybe everybody else can have success, right, because his presence is out there. But man, whenever these quads and you're seeing like Tunsil's having a hamstring, and like those are some annoying injuries. And frankly, this is the second season in a row that their bye week has been like week 14 or week 12 or something so far down the line. Last year, it kind of helped you out because you had a last second, rest before that push before the playoffs. Now it's like, damn, I'm hoping for a bye week so we could get somebody back. We could get some injuries treated and try to catch up to what things are going right now. But the injury bugs, man, there's nothing that you can do about it unless somebody out there got a voodoo doll, right? and they are like, we are dead set on changing this team back to the previous name. I don't know what it is, but get the damn needles out of these players, man. This is really frustrating. It's getting demoralizing, honestly, because it's like you don't want those things to happen, and you don't expect them to happen. They're just all fluke small ones that are going to be annoying. But hey, you said it earlier, right? Next man up. Hambino says, can Jason Campbell still play? I might get to talk to him on a podcast, see if he's available. I don't know if that's the Joe Flacco all-time quarterback. We're trying to go down that road to try to bring some people in there. Lord, let's do that. Let's have all legends. You know what I mean? Any legends that are able to still run around, let's put them on there and see. Let's see who's able to get it done.
Patrick Ramsey's throwing some deep balls for him. We'll start.
That's a name.
Yeah, it is a name. That's right. That is very much a name. You start talking about Jason Campbell, I'm like, we can start naming some quarterbacks here if you want from the past. But you mentioned the bye week. Obviously, Seattle next, Lions, then Dolphins in Madrid, and then the bye week. So you still got 3 more weeks, 2 tough teams. I don't know what the hell the Dolphins are. To me, it's tougher that there's the travel and the weird time and the jet lag and all that going, and the distraction to Madrid because Madrid's beautiful. That may be that, but you still got 3 more games before you get to a bye. Were you more of appreciative of an earlier bye or a later bye? Because I feel like nobody has like a set feeling for this. It's like, well, early, nobody's really hurt as much, but then sometimes teams do have a lot of injuries early in the season, and this team has. So I feel like it's just kind of like luck for it to time out right when a team actually needs it.
Yeah, I've always been where I didn't want it too early. Like I didn't like that week 4, week 5 bye week because I'm like, man, we're just not getting started. Now, if I'm being real, I feel a lot of our seasons was over by the time we hit the bye week. It was like, damn, man, we won in 9.
I'm glad you'll say it at least.
I keep it a buck, man. Like the bye week for me was like, all right, we ain't got about 6 weeks left, and it's been real cool hanging with y'all, man. So like, I hope I'm back next year. Like that's what the bye week was for me. It's definitely one of those ones where if the season sucks, you wanted the bye week to be early because you want the thing to be over with. But when it's later on in the year, you're thinking, all right, cool, we get a chance to recoup, we get our body back. And I think that's how, like I said earlier, that's how it worked last year for this squad. Right now, I bet they're thinking, good Lord, let's get to this bye week, let's get a break and see if we can come back with a fresh, a fresh look on the rest of the season. It's just going to be, hopefully the season isn't determined by the time they go on the bye week. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's not one of those ones where they're too far out of it because this is still a division that could play out. Wonkier things have happened. When you still got 2 games against Philly at the end of the year, ain't no telling how this thing could play out. Shoot, A.J. Brown back her. He may not even be in Philly. So that may be one less weapon you have to worry about. So
they're not trading him. We wouldn't get that lucky to see A.J. Brown get traded out of Philly.
Hey, man, who knows, man? I don't know. I don't know what to trust nowadays. I've seen Luka Doncic get traded. All right. I sat there and read the notifications, and everybody thought their phone was getting hacked. They're like, ain't no way. Luka Doncic. What you mean? It was like midnight down here in Texas, man. I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
Look, here's what happened. I was taking a shower, and then here come my wife. She said, what is this? And I'm like, oh, Lord, what did I do? I'm going through my head thinking that it was something. I didn't do anything. But I was like, Lord have mercy, what happened? And then you look, and it was Luka got traded. So I was thinking I got in trouble. But it wasn't me. It was Nico that did it. But yeah, Luka got traded. So anything can happen in this sports world, man. Anything can happen.
I mean, it is true. And listen, you are right about Philly and the rest of this division. Like Philadelphia has shown they're vulnerable. The offense looks vulnerable. And, AJ Brown has rarely been happy there because when receivers don't get the ball, you diva receivers, Anthony, all of you, you're all just divas. Yeah, nobody ever gets the ball enough.
Throw me the rock, man. That's the thing. Everybody want to go trade for receivers. I'm like, bro, one at a time. Like you ain't got but one football that's out there. And once you have all that money going to players, the ball has to go to certain folks. You know what I mean? So Hambino's asking, can we go over individual player grades? I don't have individual player grades because I haven't looked at the tape to grade them individually. I know that overall, I thought that the OG started to show up for a while. You know what I mean? I needed the vets to make some plays because all the young guys weren't showing that they were able to do it. And then you saw from Terry, you saw Ertz make some catches. I mean, Marcus made some plays where he could, but we just ran out of juice, man. Ran out of juice. The damn Steve Spagnuolo got to be a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, you got to put him in the Hall of Fame as a coach at some capacity. But man, he has that defense cooking. They got players out there, and whatever it was, just wasn't good enough. Say, why did Joe switch to zone from man to man? She can't keep up with everybody. Them suckers are fast, man. Like after a while, like that's the thing. When in this league, when you get a chance to take advantage of a turnover or something where you stole a possession, you have to put points on the board. And I know the 3, but you have to answer with something. Even 1 out of them 2 or 3 chances would have been something to put them ahead. Because you saw the other teams make those adjustments, man.
Mm-hmm.
Is Brandon Banks still available? My man Speedy B, man, he a legend up there in Hamilton too, man. He might be out there hanging around. You never know. But no, man, it's just one of them things, man. That's a tough ass team to go up against, and if you give them a chance to hang around, they gonna come on back. They gonna come back and beat you. You know what I mean? But I would have been just as sick, even more sick, if we'd have been up 17-0 and the Chiefs found a way to come back and win. I'd have been up here high rate flipping desks. You know what I mean? So
now that I'd love to see. I'd love to watch a video you just flipping some desks and breaking some stuff. I've always wanted to have a rage room that I can just smash some stuff. I've suggested at every place I've worked, apparently like lawyers and insurance, it's a thing. But one day, I'm telling you, I'm going to make it happen, whether it's on Game Day Garage, because that's my own thing, and I own that. I can actually I just want to smash something. But if you could smash something too, that'd be great. By the way, John, stop. This is not the Dan Snyder era. Everybody needs to stop the whole, welcome back to the Dan Snyder era. No. We're not in that. This is nowhere close to that.
That's
Please,
facts.
don't even come close. We need to remember what it was like in the Dan Snyder era, what it truly was. There was no hope after week 1. This is still a rebuild. Stop forgetting. This is a team that is rebuilding. It's just flipped. They maybe should have won 12 games this year and actually looked like this last season. They're dealing with injuries. You've got actual adults in the building from the top all the way down. Pump the brakes on all of this. Oh, we're back to the Dan Snyder. It may have felt like it tonight. I'll give you that. But if we're going to sit here and say, oh, my God, it's back to that. No.
Hey.
We got good ownership. We got a great front office. We got a good scouting department. We've got good coaches. There may be some questions about defensive coordinator. There may be some questions about play calling. But the play calling early in this game, when the game was actually in hand from Kliff Kingsbury, was pretty good. It's just later on, they're not converting 4th downs. They have no kicker, essentially, and they're just playing from behind. And at that point, you got to throw the playbook out the window. So, no, this is nowhere near the Dan Snyder era. I suffered through all that. We've all suffered through that. This is nowhere near what that is. All right, David Harrison is going to join us next, live from Kansas City. Give us some updates if he can find out anything on the injuries, obviously his reaction to this game, everything. We've had more than enough to say. David's finally ready. We'll get to him next right here on Commander's Squad. All right, and FanDuel has, of course, the NBA now back as well. And yes, you can obviously hear Anthony laughing in the background. And it's true, because we are not talking about those same era. It is not the same era. I can't get over that. No, but there is no better place to get in on the action than at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I've been all in on FanDuel and some of these NBA, all the little boosts that they've got and everything. If you miss the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to 4th quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps the game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and you win. So go to FanDuel.com, sign up now, and play the game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, David Harrison joins us now. I'm distraught when I see people talking about the Dan Snyder era, because I think that they have completely forgotten what the hell the Dan Snyder era actually was. Don't get me wrong. I said it felt like it tonight, but that's completely different than it actually being the case. We have unloaded on all the things that happened today. I'm going to leave the floor to you now, live from Arrowhead. It looks much quieter. It looks much calmer for you. There were injuries tonight. There was a 28-7 loss. There was a game that had a couple of Patrick Mahomes interceptions early that then completely flipped on its head. The floor is yours, my friend. It's good to have you on.
Oh, I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate not being the only person to say, listen, this is not the same era. It's just, new eras don't guarantee wins, and they don't guarantee championships, especially right out the gate, right? Things are the way they are for a reason. I mean, the NFL is king because of the competition level. Listen, the Kansas City Chiefs are the model in this generation or this decade of football. Before that, it was the New England Patriots. And now the New England Patriots are going on multiple years of not making the playoffs. Looks like they're probably going to make the playoffs this year. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, look, they're 5-3, right? Like they're 5-3. That's not, that's not running the table. That's not destroying everybody that you come across, right? Teams go through up and downs, man. They go through adversity. The key is when you have a good coaching staff, the coaching staff, one, they stay engaged in the adversity as well, and they keep the players engaged in the adversity, because the message you get from the players is it's not time to point fingers. You can't be, looking outside yourself and saying, well, if you do this better, then my job is easier, and so on and so forth. And the coaches have to do the same thing. And I know it doesn't always come as quickly as, maybe, I wanted to, or anybody out there in the fan base wants it to. But today was a prime example of this coaching staff understanding that the way they've been doing things for the first 7 weeks is not going to get them to where they want to be in the next 7 weeks. And look, for a short period of time, for 30 minutes, it worked really stinking well. And nobody wants to talk about moral victories. There are no moral victories. There are no silver linings. But this is a very real situation where they've got 30 minutes of tape to go back, study, break down, and talk about why did this work? Why did this work against arguably the best team in the National Football League that as of last week got its groove back and all these things? Why did this work? Because if we can figure out and pinpoint and put our finger on why this worked for 30 minutes, then maybe we can make it work for 60 against the Seattle Seahawks and get a win there. And maybe we can make it work for 60 minutes against the Detroit Lions and get a win there. And maybe we can make it work for 60 minutes against the Miami Dolphins and make it work there. And then what's the record then? 6-5 going into the bye week? And then you come out and you got the Vikings, you got the Broncos, you got 4 division games. This thing is far from over. Now, if they can't put their finger on why it worked, right, then, that's a different story. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, that's how you build things. You know what I mean? And I'll stop there because I've talked for a really long time. But I do have other thoughts on why the second half went down the way that it did. But again, I'll stop there and let other people talk and not be greedy.
I'm with you, man. It's one of them ones where you get spoiled, where you kind of you done pulled the baddest chick in the school, man. You're a freshman, you done pulled the baddest chick in the school. They like, damn, what are you doing with her? And year 2 come around, puberty start to catch up. You got to step your game up a little bit, and that's really where you're sitting right now. And I say this as an organization that has been through the Dan Snyder, been through the Dan Snyder organization, and in that time period, you got to know, like, it's easy to go back and revert to that, right? It's easy to go back and say, "Oh, here we go again." No, man, we're not there. We're not in that echelon. We're not in that level. We're not doing things that way. This is a team that's good. They're having some rough luck right now, but this is a good team. All right, this is a good team. I would say if anybody on here, we went back and said week 1, guess out the season, we would think that they'd be at a pretty competitive point right now in the middle of the year. They got some tough opponents to beat, sure, but it just lets you see where you stand against that level of talent. I promise you, I'm so much happier that they're playing in the afternoon and these primetime games, because that means they earned it, rather than playing at 1 o'clock all the time. That means they suck. If you're playing at 1 o'clock, that means you're trash. Okay, They want you to play your game and get out of here. Now you got to stay up and watch some football. That means you got a team that's on the brink of doing something special. So enjoy it. I understand the frustration. I'm frustrated too, but they know they can do better, and I think that they're going to get something formulated to have a good run to finish the season out.
Yeah, I by the way, I'm trying to figure out what people are saying behind David right now, and I can't figure it out. But
there's players and families out here. There's Chiefs players, and coaches and families. So the fans are the loyal fans, mostly from Chiefs Kingdom, right? I think that's what they call them, Chiefs Kingdom. Their families. Yeah. They're still here hoping to get autographs. That's what all that is.
Okay.
I thought they were all your fans. I was like, you got everybody out there still waiting for you, man.
Yes, all the Chiefs fans are like, sign my poster board,
man. Tell them to get in the chat.
Hey, David, what do we know about some of these injuries that continue to be an issue for this team?
Yeah, obviously we're going to find out more as the week goes, right? But right now it seems like none of them are necessarily like super serious, right? Obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play against Seattle, like Laramie Tunsil with a hamstring. Like those are injuries that might take a week or two. I know we have the same deal with Jayden, and is he going to play against Seattle? I know there's already like some blog sites out there already predicting he's not going to play, which is a 50-50 proposition. And we've already had this conversation about people who make 50-50 claims, and then if they're wrong, it just disappears. And if they're right, they pat themselves on the back like they knew something, because they don't. But, it's just the good thing about it, again, a player, Anthony Armstrong, like you know this, right? And if you've ever been in a competitive market or competitive position, you understand like the unfairness of the world and the things that stack up against you. Like, oh, it's not my fault that we bought into that stock and my intel was wrong. Like, no, like you can't live like that, because if you live like that, you're just going to die. So none of the players are going to look at injuries as an excuse and all that stuff, and they can't. But we're not on the team right now. Some of us have never been on the team, obviously, but even if you have been, you're not on the team right now. We can look at the injuries and be like, look, this is a major factor, and it's a major piece of the context of why the season has gone the way that it has. But again, the good news is that the players aren't leaning on that. But yeah, as far as I hate to do this, but it was on record, so it's going to get out there anyway. Terry McLaurin's quad definitely not feeling great. He himself said we'll have to see how the week goes and whether or not it's going to cost him any more time than it already has. So, be prepared for that in the coming days.
So let me just take the note now. Terry watch all week. Terry quad watch. That's going to be a thing. Look, it's the face at Anthony. It just, I mean, this is
muscles, man.
I know. Look, it's like what makes a season so frustrating when you know that you do have talent on a roster is when that talent just can't get out there, and then they come back, and then they're out again, and it's just feeling that way with Jayden and Terry. Though, I mean, listen, those are the two biggest names. Those are the two biggest stars. Those are the guys we saw what they can do when they were healthy all last season. I mean, you know what this offense can be, and I mean, David, we saw it just today, just 3 catches, 54 yards, but they were significant catches and big time yards, and just they were catches where you watch Terry make these, plays that other guys can't use. It's like I was saying this to Anthony earlier. Like, you don't have to be a trained eye to watch this game, see what Terry McLaurin could do, and go, oh, yeah, like that's what they've been missing week after week after week. And listen, if he's out again, that we just know, like, there is a downgrade that's there. And there's also Debo. Do we know anything about Debo? They were talking on the broadcast about him being – I know he's already been banged up, obviously, but what else was going on with that? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I think that heel injury is just – it's something he's got to manage all year, right? Like, it's a foot injury. It's not going away. Like, it's not going to go away. These types of things, like, that's the thing people don't understand about hamstrings either. Like, Jayden's going to come back from this hamstring. Laramie Tunsil's going to come back from this hamstring. But Anthony, you know this better than I do even. Like, a hamstring injury, you need months to actually fully heal that thing. Like, even a strain, like, you need multiple months of, not like uber athletic activity. And again, like, we've seen Terry jogging to the practice field. Jayden will jog here and jog there. We're not talking about normal human activity. We're talking about extreme athlete activity. You need, like, bottom line, like, Jayden's hamstring, I shouldn't say this. Jayden's hamstring is not going to be right 100% until the offseason. Like,
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. That's safe to say. I'm gonna jump in and just say that's very fair and safe to say. He's not going too far to say that. And one thing to consider, you thinking hamstring, Larry Tunsil, hopefully he doesn't need to use it too much, right? Doesn't have to open up and run as much. So hopefully he can get out there. Jayden, he may, a lot of it too, when you pull a hammy, a lot of it coming back is the confidence and the mental confidence of saying, can I open up and run when you feel a little twinge? Is it a muscle or is it really fascia? I've pulled hamstrings plenty of times. It's always been around week 4 of the season for whatever reason. I've never played in St. Louis because of them damn hamstring injuries, but soft tissue things can be annoying. There's some really good doctors that are out there that can help you with treatment and try to help speed up that process. But to really fully heal, David's right. It can take a few weeks. You can still get out there and run around and be effective with the injury, with the strain. But man, it's going to really come down to some confidence. You just got to know that any instance it could reoccur.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think now we're talking about if injuries are lingering after the Seattle game, the trade deadline's a couple days later, and that is something that we can't.
Can I get some special teams autographs?
You can if you want. Maybe we can get some special teams autographs.
You complete me right here. Come on.
I need it. We just leave.
The noise canceling tech is not noise canceling as
they don't.
No, you do. Hey, you do what you got to do, brother. You're good.
This is great. I just love it.
I'll help you out. There you go. I was going to try to
help
you
out.
A
little love from Harrison Butker.
Man of the people. Man of the people right there. Great beard, too, by the way. Kudos. I need to steal that beard technology.
Well, whoa, give your beard some credit here, my friend. I think you're right up there in the beard game here too. So
David trying to make sure he can get up out of there safely.
Yeah, right.
Man,
we lose him now?
We getting
now
interrupted. Now they done pulled the plug on the internet.
Yeah,
God,
now he froze. They boot him off the field. I don't even know if we're gonna get David back. We might have lost him here.
I think
there he is.
His beard is soaking up all the Wi-Fi. Is what's happening.
That's probably what it is. All right, we got a couple minutes here left with this. Again, Anthony and I have kind of we've had our time to vent overall with this whole thing. Besides the special teams autographs, the things that are going on there. Just at this point now, where are you on this? Sort of where this season sits, David, as we get ready to try to go through this over the last couple of minutes here. I mean, again, this team's 3-5 with Seattle coming up next.
This little guy right here. He loves you.
I'm the best here. Honestly, it's funny. It's hilarious more than anything. How much does this Seattle game weigh though on the rest of the season? There you go. Yeah, this is perfect. There you go.
This is what's happening right now. So
you really are right in the center of the action.
It's amazing. Yeah.
You're right there in the middle of it. This is good.
I hope none of these kids have to go to school tomorrow.
Dude, this is a big moment for kids, man. Staying after a game like this in a quiet field.
Oh yeah, that's great.
There's something to be said for a quiet. Yeah. All right, so the Seattle game next week.
Yeah.
I mean, are we looking at like this kind of dictates how the team wants to look at around that trade deadline? I know the trade deadline isn't always like what the NBA or baseball tends to be, but I feel like the NFL trade deadline's gotten more aggressive over the years, and we've talked about it a little on this show. Like that's something you can't you have to take that in consideration as to like what this team's mindset's going to be when that's their last chance to make any of those types of decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to be an effective leader of an organization, and that's obviously what Adam Peters is, you have to be an honest broker. You have to be honest and truthful about what your organization is, what it needs, and where it needs to go and where it is. All that combined. You can't look at this with rose-colored glasses. You can't look at it as I think I've said this before on this show. I know I've said it on Locked On Commanders, but we don't live in a world of should, right? We live in a world of what is, and if you operate off of what should be, you're going to lose. You're going to lose 100 times out of 100 times. You have to operate on reality and what is. And when we talk about like Seattle, I think we have a lot of time to get into that, obviously, but it's kind of like Kansas City, to be quite honest with you. Like Kansas City is an organization that knows what it is. It's a team that knows what it is. We heard Dan Quinn just as early as not even a week ago admit that he doesn't know what his team is right now. You know what I mean? And that's a scary place for an organizational leader to be.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs know who they are. So, yeah, they had some injuries, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, all that stuff. But boom, as soon as those guys get back, it's like they never left because we know who we are. So same thing when we go into the locker room and, man, like this Washington Commanders team is putting up a bigger fight than we expected. What do we need to adjust to make sure that the second half goes our way? Well, we know how to adjust because we know who we are. So we know what we're capable of when we turn it this way, turn it that way, whatever which way we need to turn it. The Washington Commanders aren't there. The Washington Commanders are just starting to figure out who they are. Jacob Martin said that first half is who they are. Well, fantastic. The problem with figuring out in the first half who you are is you can't then go in the locker room with less than 15 minutes, really, like less than 10 minutes, really, and make adjustments from where you just found out you are to go somewhere else, you know what I mean, against a team that clearly has a better grasp of their identity. The Seattle Seahawks are in a very similar position as far as second-year head coach, but for whatever reason, and this is going to be brought up all week long, Mike McDonald and the Seahawks know who they are a lot more right now than Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders. So you have another team that has a better grasp of their identity at this point. So how much, like I said, this team can turn that first half into an expanded identity over the next 3 days of practice and 5 days, 6 days of work week before the next game. That's going to dictate what kind of product we see on Sunday nights. And the better they can do that, the better they'll do against the Detroit Lions, because that's an organization, even with 2 new coordinators, they damn well know who they are, and they're bringing the fight to Northwest Stadium. And they're very much looking for revenge from the divisional round game that already happened and is never getting erased, and you're never winning that game again.
Right. It is very, very true. And listen, when you talk about Kansas City, let's remember they had a culture and an identity relatively in place already when Patrick Mahomes got there. I mean, Alex Smith, maybe the ceiling was lower with him, but the reality is that was a playoff team when Patrick Mahomes was inserted into that lineup. So they had already built something that was there. This team is built literally from the ground up. And, I'd argue they still have a lot of pieces that are certainly still going to need to be addressed as time goes on. All right. Commanders lose 28-7 in Kansas City. You got Seattle coming up next week. You've got Detroit. You've got Miami. in Madrid. You've got to buy. They've got a lot coming up, and the next few weeks are really going to determine, I think, a lot for this team. Health is going to be the key. We'll be back together on Wednesday, do another one of these shows, hopefully have more on Terry McLaurin and some of these other injuries. Of course, David will be doing Locked On Commanders every day as well, so make sure you check that out. Give us a follow on all the socials, subscribe, do all those things. David, I hope you get some special teams autographs out there, or at least talk beard with whoever it was that was there with you. Maybe some beard oil products. Don't forget, beard oil is underrated. Always get a little beard oil. That's right. Men should never be afraid to groom. Never be afraid to groom. And that shows that we are tired of talking about this team's loss tonight. We start talking about the beard. That's how it goes. All right, we are back on Wednesday. It's Commander Squad.